The news broke like a thunderclap across the Indo-Pacific. On January 20th, 2026, Indonesia was out. The KF-21 Boramae fighter jet program, once a symbol of cooperation, was moving on without its key partner. The alliance had fractured beyond repair. The KF-21 was supposed to be the future of the Indonesian Air Force. South Korea cited unresolved financial issues and a breakdown in trust. The message was clear: the train is leaving, and Indonesia is not on it. The world was watching as the dream of co-developing advanced jets evaporated. The end of that relationship sends a powerful signal. As one door closed for Indonesia, another was about to open for a different nation. The KF-21 Boramae project wasn't born overnight. It was South Korea's dream to develop its own advanced fighter jet, reducing reliance on foreign suppliers. The project, initially known as KFX, officially kicked off in 2015. Korea Aerospace Industries was tasked with developing a 4.5 generation fighter. The price tag was enormous, around $8 billion. South Korea brought in key technologies from international partners, but the core design was proudly Korean. This was about more than just a plane, it was about national pride and strategic independence. Indonesia came into the picture to offset costs and expand the market. In 2016, a deal was struck. Indonesia would shoulder 20% of the development costs. In return, they would receive one prototype, technical data, and the know-how to manufacture jets back home. The vision was grand, but as we now know, the best-laid plans can go terribly wrong. The partnership was supposed to foster deep technological and industrial ties, but the foundation of this grand vision had a fatal flaw. Why did Indonesia jump on board? It was a chance to leapfrog a generation in air combat technology. The deal was about more than just buying planes, it was about partnership. Indonesia wanted to be a co-developer, not just a customer. By joining the KF-21 program, they were promised significant technology transfer. Their engineers would work alongside Korean counterparts, learning to design and build a modern fighter jet. This knowledge was priceless, an opportunity to build up their aerospace industry. The agreement was specific for its investment. Indonesia would receive a prototype and the licenses to produce jets. Indonesian aerospace would become a critical part of the manufacturing process. For a time, the partnership looked like a success story. Indonesian engineers moved to South Korea, and the project was moving forward. The first prototype was rolled out in April 2021, a moment of pride for both countries. But behind the public displays of unity, serious problems were brewing. The financial commitments that formed the bedrock of the partnership were beginning to crumble. The partnership was in jeopardy, threatening to bring the entire arrangement crashing down. The dream was slipping away. Where did it all go wrong? The first problem was money. Indonesia began falling behind on its payments almost from the start. By the early 2020s, Jakarta had paid only a fraction of what it owed. The outstanding debt ballooned to over $700 million. South Korea sent repeated reminders, but the payments remained sporadic. Then came the issue of trust. In early 2024, a scandal shook the partnership. Two Indonesian engineers were caught trying to steal sensitive data related to the KF-21. This was an act of industrial espionage, right in the heart of the project. The incident created a firestorm in South Korea. How could they trust a partner who was actively trying to steal the technology? The espionage attempt was a turning point, fundamentally changing the dynamic of the relationship. Security was tightened, and access for Indonesian personnel was restricted. The collaborative spirit was replaced by suspicion and mistrust. The payment delays stalled negotiations, and the spy scandal destroyed goodwill. Indonesia kept asking for more while failing to meet its obligations. The partnership was in a nosedive, and it was clear there was no pulling up. The foundation of mutual respect and reliability had been shattered. The end was inevitable. Faced with mounting debt and a breach of trust, South Korea had to make a choice. They chose to salvage something, but the terms changed drastically. In 2024, after the espionage incident, South Korea put a new offer on the table. Indonesia could remain in the program, but its status would be downgraded. The dream of being a co-equal partner was over. Indonesia's financial contribution was reduced, but so were its benefits. The level of technology transfer was significantly curtailed. They would no longer receive a physical prototype. Access to the jet for testing and evaluation would be limited. The keys to the kingdom, the core technologies, were pulled back. This was a major blow to Indonesia's pride and ambitions. They were no longer a partner in the driver's seat. The new arrangement reflected the broken trust. South Korea was willing to sell them the jets, but not to share the family jewels. Ultimately, even this downgraded deal proved unworkable. By late 2025, it was clear the partnership was on life support. The final announcement in January 2026 was merely the official time of death. Here's what many missed in the drama with Indonesia. The KF-21 program thrived. While the partnership drama unfolded, KAI engineers and test pilots were hard at work. The Boramae was hitting all its milestones. The first prototype took to the skies in July 2022. Over the next few years, all 6 prototypes were completed and entered rigorous flight testing. The jet was performing beautifully. South Korea proved it could develop a world-class fighter jet largely on its own terms. The departure of Indonesia, while financially inconvenient, was not a fatal blow. Seoul absorbed the extra cost, committed to the project with or without a partner. This sent a powerful message. South Korea is a serious player in the global aerospace industry. The KF-21 was not just a concept, it was a real, flying, and highly capable machine. International interest began to intensify. Countries in Southeast Asia, the Middle East and South America were watching closely. The KF-21 was becoming a hot commodity on the international arms market. The young hawk was ready to leave the nest, and the world was taking notice. With Indonesia out, all eyes turned to the Philippines. The Philippines is in the middle of a serious military modernization push. They acquired a squadron of FA-50s, a light combat aircraft made by Korea Aerospace Industries. The Philippines isn't a stranger to South Korean hardware. They are a satisfied customer. The FA-50 deal was a success for both sides. This history of positive cooperation built a strong foundation of trust between Manila and Seoul. Unlike the relationship with Indonesia, the one with the Philippines has been smooth and professional. The strategic logic is compelling. The Philippines faces significant security challenges, particularly in the South China Sea. The KF-21 would be a quantum leap in capability for the Philippine Air Force. For South Korea, a partnership with the Philippines would be a major strategic win. Manila has already expressed official interest. A potential deal could be structured differently, focusing on licensed production, assembly, and maintenance. This would still be a massive boost for the Philippine defense industry. For South Korea, the Philippines represents a chance to get the KF-21 partnership right. Let's be clear about what was lost in the Indonesian deal. It wasn't just about money, it was about the transfer of sensitive technology. When South Korea first agreed to the partnership, they were offering Indonesia a seat at the table. This included sharing the technical DNA of the KF-21. The espionage incident in 2024 shattered that foundation. It wasn't just a couple of rogue engineers, it was perceived as a state-sanctioned attempt to get a shortcut. For South Korea, this raised a huge red flag. The KF-21 contains not only Korean technology, but also sensitive components from third-party countries. Seoul is legally and ethically bound to protect that technology. If a partner proves they can't be trusted, the obligation to protect that tech overrides the obligation to share it. This is why, in the renegotiated deal, the scope of technology transfer was drastically reduced. It wasn't about punishing Indonesia, it was about risk management. The promise of co-production became hollow because you can't co-produce what you don't fully understand. The dream of Indonesian aerospace building its own IF-21s from the ground up was dead. South Korea chose to protect the integrity of the Boramae program over placating a partner who had broken the rules. The KF-21 saga is more than just a fighter jet story. It's about new power and partnerships in Asia. In these high-stakes defense deals, trust is the most important currency. South Korea invested billions in years into the Boramae, seeking a partner who respected that effort. Indonesia, for various reasons, fell short. Now, the Philippines is the frontrunner. They bought the FA-50, paid for it, and proved themselves reliable. Reputation matters. The Philippines has earned trust as a dependable partner. The KF-21 story shows that in Asia, alliances are built and kept on trust.